Joy has what you had, only I could see you the next day, whereas I didn't know that Joy had it for 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah. So you'll get relief as soon as you have something that can assist your body exactly where it needs it. And it's just, so let's just deal with that tomorrow morning. As soon as you get it, then message me and then we'll go from there. Your body might throw out more symptoms, but the first issue is to just get your digestion working. Yeah.
Thank
So
you. Sorry.
that's okay. All right. How are you going, Amber? Can you see where to unmute?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to log out and log back in.
Okay.
My computer's completely lost everything.
Yeah, all good.
Okay, I'll be back on in a minute.
Okay, sweet.
Um,
How are you going, Marie?
Better in the aspect that I've been able to eat a bit of steak in that this week a couple of times and haven't sort of felt quite so overwhelmed, I suppose, with the meat.
Okay.
The meat side, struggling.
Yeah.
I've had steak. I'm gonna probably try and have steak tonight for tea as well. So
Okay.
yeah, that's been quite good. The only thing I'm really finding is with my bowels, like I can go they're still not sort of settled. Like I can be from one extreme to the other within sort of not
Okay.
in between. And I am
Do you mean not formed? Do you mean not formed sometimes, loose sometimes, and
Oh, definitely loose. Yeah,
Okay.
and then other times struggling to go.
Okay.
So I do try the laxative, but occasionally when I do that, it's like I get quite a lot of pain in that because it goes quite extreme, like change.
Okay.
But that's the only that's sort of what I'm just struggling to get that to I suppose normalize a wee bit, but I've always been quite extreme from one into the other. I don't have as much pain though, like the pain's not really there.
Okay.
Like with the irritable bowel, it used to be quite painful.
Yeah.
Even my tummy to touch is just so much better. Like
Okay.
inflammation and all that. But
So let me just let me just get a bit of a clearer picture. So before your stools were irregular, and they were sometimes loose and sometimes formed, but before you also had pain.
Yeah.
And the pain was to touch, or was it
I
more?
used to always have it. I used to have quite a sensitive stomach. Yeah.
Okay. And was it firm, hard, bloated kind of thing?
Oh, I was quite bloated. Yeah.
And so was that the kind of pain that you're talking about, or was it something different?
No, sometimes when I would have to go to when my bowels wanted to pass, I would be in excruciating pain. Like if I was at the extreme of the loose, I suppose diarrhea, that whereas if I saw
but that excruciating pain you're describing, is it a cramping pain, or is it a sharp pain, or is it a dull
sharp?
A sharp.
It's probably quite sharp.
Yeah, okay. And does it shoot from one side to another?
Yeah, probably from the right across. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and
quite a lot in my back. Yeah, my back would ache quite a bit when I used to get constipated with but that has got better. But
but it hasn't gone?
Not 100%.
Okay.
No.
And so on your back, is it your lower back, or is it higher up around where your kidneys are?
Wow, it's quite interesting. I got my daughter to take a photo the other day where I was sore, so I can flick that. I'm a wee bit hopeless, but
Okay.
I have been quite sore higher up, but I do have disc damage in my back as well with my nerves, so I'm not 100% sure, but I can flick you through because I sort of took a photo with between my fingers where I've been
Okay.
the sorest.
If I show
Yeah.
you on my back, can you see?
Yeah.
Can you see my back? Yeah.
Yep.
Is it more or more?
Yes. No, more higher at the moment. Yeah.
And is it one side over the other?
It's my left side.
So your left side. Oh yeah, okay. Yep. Yeah. And have you noticed that there has, hang on, I need a pen. Have you noticed that there's been much of an odor when you go?
Yes, sometimes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. That sounds and you've noticed that the nausea has passed now and you can manage that.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Sounds like bacteria die off.
Yep.
Yeah. So you can do a course of probiotics, but it's not necessary, but you could benefit from it. And the reason I'm saying it like that is because your microbiome does it does adjust to what you were eating. So for example, before it was like if you were eating broccoli, then you would need to have a certain bacteria that made you able to, break that down. But when you don't eat it, then that's not necessary anymore. And so when you're eating other things, then that bacteria is necessary. But then you also get like you would have had candida, so you'd also get candida die off. And so when the bacteria dies, it's like that can also load the liver. That actually just yeah. So you would actually I'm going to check this when we finish the call, but you
Yep.
I reckon could benefit from a remedy called Nux vomica, and you can just get that from like a Health 2000 or a
Yeah.
yeah, but like it's not, because your body's working its way through it. It's not like where, like for example, when Amber needed it, her body was stuck. It's like it needed assistance to work its way through it. Like Joy's body, it's stuck and she needs assistance to work its way through it. Whereas your body's actually working its way through it. So you could support it and get a remedy to support the liver and get some probiotics to help speed things along, but your body is moving through it. So just to give you a gauge of the level of urgency.
Okay. Yeah. Well, can I get you to flick me through the name of those? Yeah.
Yep. No worries. And if you want the probiotics, then I can order it for you because I have a practitioner account.
Okay. Yep. I have also been trying to introduce a wee bit more dairy. So I have always had a bit of issues with dairy. So I don't know if that's also upset me a little bit, but
You'll only know if you remove it and then if the symptoms go away.
Yeah. I've only sort of had a wee bit of Greek yogurt just to see if I could boost myself a wee, have something a little bit different. But yeah. But I might only do it every few, maybe every 2 to 3 days. Just
just to see. Yeah. I've been noticing that I've been because I'm due for my period, and I also have been just getting a little bit too heavy-handed with the mayonnaise. And fun fact, when you are moving towards your period and estrogen is increasing, the liver has to deal with the extra hormones, more estrogen. And so that's why it's quite typical at that time of the month for PMS, for irritability, for also the cramps, also like all the symptoms that you would get with your cycle. It's when the liver just goes, nah, it's too much. I can't, like, you're stressing me out. And those are the symptoms. So, so yeah, that was my slap on the hand. And I reckon mayonnaise was the trigger.
Yeah.
It's funny, because the thing is like, like I wasn't feeling terrible, and I'm not getting fat, and so those are like my two gauges for whether I'm eating too much or not enough of something. Sometimes those are the real obvious ones, but I did really start getting the burps, and like, and I don't fart because that's bacterial, right? So that's bacteria die off, or smelly smelly poos, or but burping is the other side, so that's also a sign of liver loading.
So I have had a bit of wind, but I do notice that it, don't other much, but I
Yeah.
have had everything, but
Yeah.
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 And so yeah, I reckon after I reckon we'll do a session on the liver. It'll be good. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner, to be honest, seeing there's quite a few of you are struggling with the liver. It's actually not, it's not that uncommon. It's just that, you never really know whether you're going to move through it or not until you're not moving through it. Yep. Okay. Amber, how are you getting on?
Good. I have no idea what happened, but we're back on.
All good.
Yeah. Nah, it's really good. I did have some vegetables on the weekend because I was away from home and we went to the pub. So I had a roast beef,
Yeah.
which was delicious, but I had some veggies and I feel all right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
So just back on the wagon again, and yeah.
Yeah. You will actually, like, unless you have an intolerance to something, then it's not always that you'll get the feedback right away that that particular thing wasn't good for you, or that your body didn't like it. It's kind of like if someone has a gluten intolerance, like to the degree where they would test for celiac, but they would not actually be genetically celiac, then the longer you abstain from having gluten, then when you do introduce it, like by accident, for example, you do have a better tolerance for it because it hasn't been there. So that is something to consider. But then you can also use it to your favor, so that when you do go out, or when you are in a situation, or whether you do want to have some, it's not gonna cause damage. And that's not to say that vegetables cause damage. It's just that be aware of the ones that are high in fiber when you start to reintroduce your faves. Those are the ones you'll watch out for, and you'll know that if you start getting gassy, bloated, then those will be that'll be the indication.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Perfect.
What else? What else is going on for you?
Not really a lot, like, because I don't eat that much before anyway. I feel like I am eating more than I used to because I feel like I have to have something because I haven't had anything else.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, my body's loving it. And
Yeah,
I knew it was
you look
gonna.
leaner. You look leaner, I can see in your face.
Yeah, I feel like the inflammation under my skin's gone. My liver I have no pain anywhere. My last period was so much better than it has been for years. It wasn't perfect, but it was like reduced by at least half the pain that I had.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, great. Nice. So you're trucking along.
Yeah.
All right, great. All right then. Well, I can't wait to be having this conversation with you, Joy. That'd be nice, won't it?
Yeah, definitely. Especially the way the body is at the moment, pain-wise too. So yeah.
Yeah. I feel for you. It's not nice. It's not nice at all.
Oh, may I ask how Sue's doing? We haven't seen her for ages. Is she okay?
Yeah, so just did the first 30 days, and then
Oh, awesome.
yeah, she just did the first 30 days and then she was done. Same as Cheryl.
Oh, so they're all better.
They just were on their way. Like, they didn't need any more from me. They just were happy with what they got, and they just decided to continue on for themselves. Cheryl more needed it for her children. than she
Oh.
did for her. Yeah, so she jumped in and got what she needed, and then she was good. And so she just needed to only do 30 days. She couldn't do any more.
Oh, because of her health?
I probably wouldn't like, disclose or
Oh,
discuss any of
no,
that.
no, 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 I don't mean to
Yeah,
pry.
no, it's okay. It's all right. They just got what they needed in their 30 days, so they're good.
That's
Cool.
good.
Okay. All right, guys. So, oh, no, you don't need to be on Facebook. We need to be here. So let me just open up this page.
May I ask a quick question before you start?
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
With having only things like meat and chicken and things like that, there's a lot of hormonal things that are added to stuff like that. So is that like a
Good question.
concern? Oh, sorry.
I just said good question.
Oh,
So is that a concern? That was the end of your question?
yeah, to be honest, since I've already got so many other things, I don't want, more complication.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. I actually, to be honest, Joy, I looked into it, and it gave such a, like, the answer that I got when I looked into it was so conclusive that I was just like, oh, that's a non-issue, and so I just moved on from it. Like, I didn't spend any more time on it. But because you've asked, I will look at it again because it's a good question. And just because I moved on from it doesn't mean that I didn't have the question myself. So, but I remember um, it was something like compared to the amount of pesticides and herbicides and the chemicals that are sprayed onto vegetables and fruits, and compared to the anti-nutrients that we would be exposed to from anything plant-based, that far, far outweighed the drawbacks of having any kind of residual hormone. Because for two reasons: the animal processes the hormones, so it doesn't actually stay in the meat. It processes any artificial hormone. And then the other reason was, that's what it was. Pesticides and sprays and things like that, they can, what's the word? Not estrogen mimic. They can estrogen mimic. And so you can get things like, do you remember in the session that I did about how hemp works by
Yep.
actually going into the receptor? And so then we talked about plant-based phytoestrogens, where we talked about maca, and maca being a similar structure to your natural estrogen. So that means that we could supplement with it. So a lot of women going through menopause use maca because when they go through menopause, their body's own natural estrogen reduces. And so because it reduces, and also their progesterone, when they supplement with maca, that also works in the same way by binding into the hormone receptor. Okay. And so that is a plant-based phytoestrogen. But then you also get estrogen mimicking chemicals. And so these pesticides and herbicides and things like that, they also mimic estrogen. But because they're a chemical and they're toxic, when they bind to the estrogen mimicker, when they bind to the estrogen receptor, that's a real problem and causes hormonal issues that are much deeper than just, having a stink period.
But what if
So,
you were avoiding like all that kind of stuff and just having organic or spray-free things to begin with on the plant-based food?
yeah, there was still the issue of anti-nutrients.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. And then the hormones, like, I will look into it again, and I will address it in the next session. But I just remember looking into it and going, the benefits versus drawbacks. The drawbacks far, far outweighed the benefits. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, can you guys see what's on my screen?
Mhm.
Cool. All right, so the two things on exercise are, oh, hang on. Why is that not presenting the whole screen? There we go. No. Oh, okay. All right. So body types and the purpose of exercise. So first of all, when you look at people's body types, just visually by looking at where the body stores fat, you can tell which organs or glands are stressed and under pressure and overworking. Okay, so notice that the adrenal body type has very narrow legs. So the weight that gets stored is particularly around the midsection. An adrenal body type also has can be skinny in other areas, like very narrow in the legs, but also the arms. It doesn't mean it also is because they're losing a lot of lean mass. Okay, so when the body is producing a lot of cortisol, which is what happens with an adrenal body type, typical of someone who is also going through menopause. So women going through menopause will tell you that they first gain weight around their midsection, or which then moves on to lower abdomen, hips, butt, and thighs. And that's where we get to the estrogen body type. So this body type can be very narrow in the waist, but much more around the hips, butt, and thighs. And this is because the body is trying to fat store around the reproductive organs. So the body will lay fat down around any area that is struggling or overworking. But the thing is that sometimes people are lean, but they have these problems. And usually that's because not usually, it will be because the thyroid is overactive. So that's where we get, for example, hypothyroid and hyperthyroid. So where one is slowed down and the other one is in a sprint. Eventually, the sprinting does slow down, and because it can't sprint forever, and that's where we get to hypo. Okay, so thyroid is similar to adrenal and similar to estrogen, but it doesn't hold fat in any one particular area. It's kind of everywhere. The arms, as well as the back, as well as under the neck, they can tend to get a bit of a thick neck, and also the legs, butt, and thighs, and the abdomen. A liver body type we see much more obviously in men, so because they tend to have a pot belly. So unlike women that tend to get saggier around the stomach, when it's the liver, in a man, it gets very firm and there's a round shape. With women, when the liver is loaded, she'll turn into thyroid body type. Okay, and how we see that the liver is being affected long term is that we get this fatty roll underneath the bust, right? Just where the liver is sitting. So the body actually lays fat stores down to protect it, but what we know for sure is that the adrenal body type is always where it starts. Okay, so cortisol, which is the stress hormone, is always the underlying problem of all the body types. It's just really a matter of whether a person stays there or it then starts to progress on. So it's like a ripple on effect. When one part of the body is under pressure, it then puts pressure on another part of the body and then another part of the body. And it could be what you're genetically predisposed to, could be environmental, whichever one it is, it doesn't really matter because you'll address them both the same anyway. So the purpose of exercise, well, it really, you want to sort of compartmentalize it in two ways. If part of your goals are to lose body fat, then, exercise is a great tool to lose body fat. But if your goal is not to lose body fat, then it's also really beneficial to see that when you put your body into a state where it is able to access your stored fat, it is also a real conducive environment for healing. Okay, So, for example, when have you ever been in a situation where everyone in your household is sick, but you're not? And you're like, how the heck did I manage to, stay free of that one? Yeah. Sometimes your body will work through it and it'll work through it so the symptoms that you get are mild compared to the others. Sometimes your body's like, this is not a priority for me to deal with right now. And so it stores it. And then come the next holiday you have, guess what shows up? Right? At a time where your body perceives that there's enough vitality to throw something out, it can then decide to deal with something that it didn't want to deal with before. Okay, that is it in some cases. So another example would be if you, I lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me. Okay, so the body stores toxins in your fat, right? It can store it in lots of different areas in the fat. It could be your adipose tissue, which is the fat that you want to be gone. But it can also be in the brain, which consists of mostly fat. It can store itself there. It can also store toxins in the lining of the sheath that is your nerves, right? And so how people experience symptoms can also be because the body is toxic and it hasn't been fortunate enough to store it in your fat. Okay. So when you create a scenario where you then allow your body to tap into your own fat, guess what gets re-released into the bloodstream? Whatever it was storing. Okay. And so at that time is when the body does, a good clear out. Now, often when we think of doing a detox, right, it's kind of like how people think about gut healing, right? Lots of people think about gut healing in terms of, taking probiotics, eating fermented foods, kombucha, but it's very narrow, the things that they need to do, right? Whereas we know that it's really about your gut, your whole digestive process from start to finish working in order, right? And so that's kind of how it's like when people are trying to lose body fat or when they're trying to get healthy. They focus on one particular area and are not seeing it as a whole bigger picture. And so what we want to do is we want to create an environment for healing. And when the environment is conducive for healing, it means that we're producing fat-burning hormones. Okay, so we can call them healing hormones, growth hormones, and they would be the same as fat-burning hormones. And so why do we call them fat-burning hormones? Because in order for the body to create that healing kind of environment where it's getting access to your stored body fat, the body is not, we need to make sure that we're not in a situation where there's any kind of sugar burning. Okay, when your body has the choice to use sugars or carbohydrates as a source of fuel, then it means that we can't be producing these hormones at the same time. So it's one or the other. All right. So if we take a look at there are 6 hormones that we call fat-burning hormones or healing hormones. And so we've got growth hormone, which increases metabolism, builds muscle, improves all over body composition, and it's released during sleep and intensive care. So this is a major fat-burning hormone. And take note of this one and when it's released. Okay, so during sleep and intense exercise. And then you've got IGF-1, which promotes the burning of fat and the building of muscle. Is mainly produced in the liver and helps regulate the growth and development of cells. So really important that we produce that one. Glucagon promotes the burning of fat for energy, particularly between meals or during fasting. Okay, so another reason to give the digestive system a rest, because if you're eating like every 2 to 3 hours, then you're not making glucagon. Okay, adrenaline increases the rate of metabolism, stimulates the breakdown of fat in adipose tissue, making fatty acids available for energy. So basically it's taking your stored fat, and then it's breaking it down and converting it into free fat, so that the body can go, oh, we can use that, and it uses that for energy. Okay, so thyroid hormones, T3 and T4, increase the basal metabolic rate. Okay, so the basal metabolic rate, people usually just condense down to like how many calories that you can burn. Are you a slow calorie burner or a fast calorie burner? But your thyroid actually controls the speed of everything. Okay, every cell in the body. If your thyroid is slow, everything's slow, which is why, fatigue is a common, it is a symptom of having a problem with your thyroid when it's hypo. That's why in people who have a hyperthyroid or overactive thyroid can also be quite lean and very skinny and have problems putting on weight. But I tell you, you will not notice with this person that they're able to sustain muscle. It's not that. They will literally be skinny and lanky. Okay, so not a healthy lean. Testosterone helps increase the body's metabolic rate and aids in the reduction of fat, especially around the midsection. So, funnily enough, because we don't have much of this hormone, but because guys do, this is the main reason that men, how do I say it? That men, for example, when they try things like a diet, any old diet, it's like, oh wow, that who's ever dieted with their partner, and their partner's like skates ahead of them, or they go to the gym and the testosterone burst is real, and they just are like, they can get lean and build muscle so easily. They can also fast a lot easier, right? They can push through other hormones that might be more debilitating for us as women because they have more testosterone, which is that fat burning or growth hormone. Okay, so those are the fat burning hormones. There are 6 of them. Now, if we take a look at your inflammatory hormones, these are the opposite. Okay, now while there are 6 fat burning hormones or healing hormones, there are only 3 fat storage or inflammatory hormones. Okay, and so the 2 of them that we're looking at first are insulin. So this is the main hormone that is for fat storage. So when you think, the reason why we call it fat storage is because when you eat and your body breaks what you eat down and turns it into fuel, okay, it can't stay in the bloodstream. It'll either be used or it'll get shuttled into your muscles or into your liver or into your fat. Okay, and insulin is what will take it there. Okay, so that's why insulin is called the fat storage hormone. This is why insulin is inflammatory. Okay, so when there is excess glucose, it's then converted into fat and stored into your fat. Right, high insulin levels can promote fat storage and inhibit fat burning. So when I say opposes, what I mean is that when you will only produce the growth hormones to the degree that you are not producing the others. Okay. Now, even though you may only be intentionally increasing, say, one of these hormones, it still cancels out the other 6. Okay, so if we only had to focus on one, then that would be relevant. Okay, but I'm letting you know what all 3 are. Yeah, estrogen is the other one. Fat storage, particularly in the hips, butt, thighs. Imbalances in estrogen levels, such as during menopause, can lead to changes in fat distribution and increased fat storage. So this is why we see women when they're going through, or as early as in their late 30s, but also early 40s, perimenopause, and then coming into their 50s, can be like, what the heck? Like, I was never this body shape before. Like, I was much straighter than this. Now all of a sudden they've got an ass on me. Like, what's going on? Right? So that can be quite confusing for women. All right, so the third one, which I feel is the most important, is cortisol. All right, so it's because of all the different ways that cortisol will be produced. So elevated cortisol, which is a stress hormone, can increase appetite, promote fat storage, and lead to muscle breakdown, which can further contribute to fat accumulation. Okay, so if we go back to the adrenal body type, right? Remember when I said that the adrenal type that stores fat around the midsection? Can you think of someone, maybe someone that you know or someone that you have seen, where they have clearly had a narrow hips, button thighs, but they just are predominantly around the waist? So what's actually happening is that the stress situation is so high that it's actually breaking down the muscle in the glutes. Because there's so much muscle there, the body allows it to be sacrificed and then gets turned into sugar, and then the body has to use it to try and control the blood sugar levels. Okay, so remember when we talked about not being on this blood sugar roller coaster? Do you remember the session we did on blood sugar roller coaster? Okay, so when the adrenal body type is producing too much cortisol, or when any body type is producing cortisol, it uses the muscle as a source of sugar. Okay, so that just brings us to our next point. So the purpose of exercise is to stress and tear down the muscles of your body. Okay, this seems counterintuitive, but you know that if you cause a little bit of stress to the point where your body is not angry at you for it, then it'll allow it to recover. The body then builds back these muscles a bit stronger. The energy used to build these muscles can come from two sources, sugar or fat. If it's coming from sugar, you'll get fitter, but you won't get leaner. Okay, and you're certainly not producing an environment that is conducive for health. Okay, so you may look healthier and fitter for sure, but remember the session that we did last week on cholesterol, inflammation, and that kind of thing? Yep. So exercise can also be a real contributor of loading stress. All right, sometimes I remember a really, really good friend of mine, her uncle died, and everyone in their family was just shocked because he was the owner of a gym, super fit, like uber fit, and he died of a heart attack. And they were like, how is this possible? But case in point, that inflammation is the problem every time. Okay, so whether your body is using sugar or fat will determine whether the exercise that you are doing is more towards health or whether it's a stress contributor. All right, if you're not eating sugar, then the body is forced to use fat. So what do you guys think the body prefers? Right? What do you think is the body's preferred source of fuel? Do you think it's fat, whether it be dietary or your fat, or do you think it's sugar? Hands up if you think it's sugar, glucose, carbohydrates, fruits, vegetables. All right, fats. Okay, which do you think is its easiest? Which do you think is its easiest source of fuel? Hands up if you think it's fat. Sugars? Okay, so when you think of it this way, your body will take the least line of resistance every time. Okay, if offered up sugar, it will take the sugar. But what it prefers is fat. And so some people think, okay, well, because my body chooses sugar, it must need the sugar, right? Like if, for example, I'm an athlete, then I must have carbohydrates. Not having carbohydrates would be crazy as an athlete. Not true. The body will prefer to use ketones, will convert fat into ketones and use that as fuel, and will do that as its preference every single time, and will actually aid in the recovery of your body. Okay, so next point. So this process occurs during the downtime, okay, so in rest periods. So when your body is fat burning, the misconception is that the majority of it is happening while you exercise. And so what this does when you think this way, you may not even have realized that you thought this way, but what it does is it creates an environment or situations in your mind where you think, oh, I really I need to exercise for longer. I'm exercising tomorrow. I can't do a rest day. Once you get to exercising every day, then you're like, oh, I'm going to exercise twice a day, right? And you think that the more that you exercise, the faster it's going to get you there. But the benefits actually happen during the downtime and the rest period. Okay. All right, so exercise mistakes. So the first one is not stressing or tearing the muscles enough, which happens through intensity. So if the exercise is not intense enough, then insufficient hormones will be triggered. Okay. However, the trick is to make sure that you build yourself to a point to where you can handle the intensity of the exercise that you want to do without breaking yourself on the way there. Yeah, so building yourself up slowly. So for example, when I got the flu, just before I started working with you guys, I had not exercised for 4 weeks. And so when I started again and started all over again, I didn't use any weights. I couldn't use any weights. And my first session was 20 minutes and I was pretty sore. I wasn't sore like every time I had to go to the toilet and lean and sit down on the bowl. I wasn't that kind of sore, but done that. But I was sore enough to be like, oh, I can feel all my muscles, right? 20 minutes after 4 weeks of doing nothing was enough. Yeah. So if I had gotten to the point where I would have been so sore that it would have been like every time I try and sit on the toilet bowl, I'm hurting, then that's too much. Make sense? Yeah. So it's kind of like when we talked about fasting, we talked about most people when they go into a fast, go into it nutrient depleted. So this would be like that, right? So going into a high intensity too soon would be like the same kind of stress on the body, if not more, as going into a fasted state, but nutrient depleted. Okay, so exercise mistake number 1 is not exercising intense enough. All right, 2, consuming sugar, which opposes the healing hormones. And then the third one is working out every day, never allowing the hormones to be activated, since fat-burning hormones work in the off day, not during the exercise. So here's a question. When you are exercising, is your body producing cortisol?
Is that the one that makes you feel good when you exercise?
Those are cannabinoids, endorphins.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, because you're putting stress on yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And so is cortisol a fat burning or fat storing hormone?
It is a fat storing one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. And so if you are producing cortisol, then to the degree that you produce cortisol is to the degree that you don't produce the other 6. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that means that when you are working through your plan to, put exercise into your life, or progress yourself in exercise if you're already there, then that's the key. It's figuring out, all right, how much stress can my body take at this point, and that'll change. So for example, Oh, like say, for example, I have a cold. It's a super minor cold, thank goodness, because I'm heading away on Thursday. And it's only been around for 3 days. Yeah. Now, in the past, if I had had a cold, like I would have been like, when can I train? Like, when is the next day that I can just, get back into it? Because there's a part of you that also is like enjoying that feeling joy, like the cannabinoids, the endorphins that you get from exercising. But if my body is in a state where it is recovering, then how much cortisol am I already producing in recovery? Okay. And then if I go and add exercise into that situation, it's going to contribute to the stress load, which means that I will not be producing fat burning hormones. I will be producing more fat storing hormones. Okay. So what about if you haven't exercised in a while and you've started and your plan is to exercise Monday and then take a day off and then Wednesday and then take a day off and then Friday. But you get to Friday and you're still sore. What do you do?
Take a day off. Yeah.
Take a day off? Yep, could do. But the other option is to look at the intensity of exercises. So, oh, bugger, I missed that slide. Okay, so this is where we get into low intensity and high intensity exercise. Okay, you still with me? Low intensity and high intensity exercise. All right, so just as a quick one, would you say that running is a high intensity exercise or low intensity exercise?
High, but would it depend if you're doing, oh no, it would be high. I was going to say, would it depend if you were doing like sprints and then, but then that's still high intensity. So yeah.
Yeah, if you're sprinting, yeah. But what about if you're running?
Does it depend on how high your heart rate goes? Because some people could run and I cannot run.
Yeah, correct. And so if you were running, but you cannot run, then does your running look like running and then stopping and then breathing and then running and then stopping and then breathing? So is that kind of like a sprint, even though you're not at a sprinting pace?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it is relative to your fitness level. Okay. So high intensity and low intensity is relative. Okay, now we'll go into this more another time, but the main thing that you need to that you want to categorize for now is just that the benefits happen in the rest period. So if you decide that you want to run and in your mind you're like, I cannot stop, I cannot stop, I cannot stop, I got to keep going, I got to keep going. When are the benefits actually happening? When you stop. Okay, so in terms of making these hormones, all right, in terms of making these hormones, if that is the goal, right, then it would actually be more meaningful for you to run as run to the point where you then need to stop and then get into recovery, because that's when you're producing the correct hormones, right? And then you push it again to the intensity, and then till you can't, and then you stop, and then you recover, right? As opposed to if the goal is to get fit, then the other way will still help get you towards fitness, but you're pushing your endurance in a completely different way when you are running to not stop. When your goal is to run and to not stop, that's a completely different goal. Now, that kind of environment is not conducive for healing. Okay? No one runs when the goal is to heal or to fat burn. Yep. Running is muscle wastage and it's a high cortisol stress environment. All right. So one of the things that you can bring back to the call next week is some goals. right? And so just think about, if your goal is to lose body fat, then, or if any part of your goal is to lose body fat, then see if you can quantify that in some way, shape, or form. I want to be a bit staunch and say that a goal is not going to be a scale weight goal because it'll mess you up. Even if you've got a healthy relationship with the scales, it's just like, like when you get to a point where it's just not even relevant. It's just not even relevant. So some clothing, a pair of jeans, a tape measurer, anything else that is not a scale weight, unless you are losing weight and you need to go the other way, that would be the only exception. Okay. If your goal is not to lose weight, but your goal is to get healthy, then I want you to, do you see how exercise is still relevant? Yep, because we still want to be creating those same hormones to create that healing environment. And so however you can quantify healing, so whatever are like your top 2 symptoms that you are really focusing on not having anymore can be part of that goal. All right. And so once you have a goal and you've got in mind how you want to be adding exercise into your lifestyle, you can come to me with, should I be doing this exercise or that exercise? And those kinds of things. Joy, did you have a question? I saw you put your hand up.
Yeah. Don't know if it's really a question, but well, sort of, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, if you've been losing muscle mass quite dangerously, almost according to the doctor, for the last 8 years,
Yep. Then you would not be exercising.
but
You'd
what
be
if that
walking.
helps? What if that helps though? Well, some of it.
Well, I guess it just depends on the intensity that you're exercising at. If you're walking and not putting pressure on the body, but you're, like blood circulating, getting your heart rate up, but you're not putting any pressure on any joints, muscles, and so on, that's what it's about. It's about how much stress can your body tolerate. Exercise is a tool to be able to add stress to that environment. But if your body can't handle stress, which your body cannot at the moment, then what I would be suggesting is just to only do enough exercise to raise your heart rate enough for you to like still be able to hold a conversation, but not be able to be out of breath that you can't manage a conversation. Like you're walking with a friend at a good pace and you're warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a problem with breathlessness though, but I think that's more due to the asthma side of it, I think.
Yeah. So that's definitely what I would be recommending for you until we get to a point where your body is like stabilized, and then exercise will be more in your favor of doing anything with more intensity.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Does anyone have any questions about any particular exercise that they want to kick off already for this week or anything like that? Yep.
It's not like I'm not gonna do weights or anything, obviously, but like incline walking or the stair mill, and I was just planning on doing it until I can't be bothered anymore.
Okay. When you say not doing weights, obviously, what do you mean? Obviously.
Like how I would have used to have trained with weights and resistant bands and like proper split day training kind of.
Is that because you don't want to anymore, or just because you haven't been and don't want to start there?
Yeah, probably because I just know that my body is weak at the moment and that I just would be wrecked if I did that.
Yep, if you did it to the degree that you used to do it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And so what are you doing currently?
I haven't done anything for ages.
Okay. What was the last thing you did?
Pilates.
Okay. How long ago was it?
Probably like 2 months ago.
Okay. And so what do you want to do? Not what you think is good for you. What do you want to do? Like, what do you like?
weight training and resistant and circuit training.
Okay. And so in your mind, when you said before what you were going to do, is that at home or is that somewhere?
I'm going to go to the gym and do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would suggest that you just take yourself through a 20-minute body weight only. Body weight only. Yep. You could walk, but you'll have enough conditioning and your body is your body's not inflamed
No.
currently. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll have enough, not conditioning, muscle memory. You have enough muscle memory there for you to call on. However, it'll be so easy for you to want to push it because you can. And because in your mind, it'll be like, I know how to do this, but don't.
Okay.
So definitely don't do anything like
machines or anything or cables.
Don't do any, nope, just your own body weight.
Yeah.
Just your own body weight. And I would do like 10 reps of lunges, 10 reps of squats.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10 reps of push-ups on your knees. Yeah. Yeah. No weights, just body weight. And I do it for only 20 minutes and that's it.
For how long? A week? 2 weeks?
Depends.
I feel strong.
Depends how sore you are after the first one.
Yeah.
But I would say that after the first one, you'd probably take all 2 days of recovery.
Okay.
Yeah. And then if you feel on the third day that you feel like you can tolerate it, then do the same again, but don't progress it. Do the same thing that you did, but do it for the week. Don't do anything different.
And so no, not like walking or anything either, because I don't do a lot of walking, like if I don't purposely go for a walk.
Yeah, you could walk. You could walk if you wanted to.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah. But walking, like, do you mean afterwards, for example, or do you mean instead, or do you mean on the alternate days?
On the alternate days, on the rest days.
Yeah, you could if you wanted to, but don't push it. Like, to get the blood flow moving, yep, but don't push it. Don't do any hills or anything.
Okay.
So it's going to be a boring walk.
Yeah, man.
I know. So it's kind of almost like just don't walk, just enjoy the rest and eat.
I feel like I've been resting for weeks.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is that, and this is the shift, is that the benefits are actually in the rest. Yeah, and it's confusing because it's like, but exercise is so good for me and it's going to help with my cardiovascular health and it's going to blah 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 blah, but it's so conditional.
Yeah,
it's like so conditional.
I definitely know that from when I used to was super fit and trained heaps. If I had a week off, man, you would look like a different person after that week and you feel so much stronger when you do go back to training again.
Yeah.
So I know. Yeah, and the awesome thing is that because of the nutrients that you're getting from the meat, you'll recover like a freaking amazing person. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah. So so learn to love your rest days. The other thing is that the muscles recover, and as they become conditioned, they recover. Like you get to a point where you train and your muscles don't hurt, or it becomes harder to hurt the muscles. So you might feel a little bit tender, but you're quite conditioned. But the nervous system takes 48 to 72 hours to recover. Okay, that is key. Yeah. So if you don't take 48 hours in between sessions, you're walking on the line of stressing the nervous system.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's when sleep starts to become impacted. Yeah, and that's when after you exercise, once the endorphin rush wears off, then it's like, oh gosh, like I really need a coffee to get through the rest of this day. Yeah, so it is a real fine line of even split body parts, like even training upper body one day and training lower body the next day still walks on a fine line because you haven't rested the nervous system. Yeah. So the reason that people get stuck in this cycle is because they're not getting their food right. And so the results are slow. Okay. But when you get your food right, then the results are not slow. Okay. And so then you can trust your body more right? And this comes down to the whole trusting your body more thing. Then you can actually like sit in what I'm telling you and go, oh yeah, like I agree with it and I'll trust it, which are like two separate things. Yeah. All right, cool. All right. Marie, got anything you want to run past me before we go? You're muted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh gosh, there we go. Only thing I also wondered, Taryn, was with possible, like menopause.
Yeah.
Like I have like my legs, I do have still quite a lot of inflammation in my leg, and one of my legs is worse than the other. Like
Yeah.
the pain and all that is a lot better, but I still do have inflammation. If like obviously I want to sort of exercise because it does make you feel better, like is that still okay? Like, and with what I'm doing, if I do have menopause, is that, I mean, I'm not sure, like the doctors haven't actually said if you're in menopause as such, but obviously I've got things going on, but so with what I'm doing, is that also benefit the menopause side? And
Yeah, so tell me about your leg.
I've had a lot of issues. I had it's numb. My left leg is quite numb to touch down definitely where it's lower you get towards my ankle, and I've been going to the doctor for well over probably feels like a year. Not probably a few months back I had an MRI and they were going to send me to Christchurch to see a neurologist for your nerves.
Mm-hmm.
Is it nerves?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I still haven't actually did anything because it's just so hard to get a referral at the moment.
Okay.
And I've got to choose in my spine. So I don't know if some of the pain in my back is pinching of nerves. Or
okay. Basically, whatever you do needs to not cause you that kind of pain. It needs to not aggravate that kind of pain. So, for example, if you need to do something that's not weight bearing, then, like for example, Pilates, where you're not actually you know what I mean? If your weight like you can be lying on your side and raising your leg, and would you be weight bearing on that on any joint that would impact that nerve?
I find if I'm on my stomach, if I do Pilates, that really upsets, and I normally end up with quite a headache when if I do stuff on my stomach, but not I've always I was wondering whether you beneficial. I was going to go and see my physio. I haven't been to physio in quite a long time, but I was going to see if they could read my back x-rays plus my MRI just to see if they could tell me what's going on.
Yeah, honestly, Marie, it's one of those things where like I don't want to say it because it's just so annoying, but swimming, because you're weightless.
I love swimming.
Oh, good. Good. Oh, good.
The only
Okay,
thing that
cool. Because
bothers me
there's
is
nothing more
boring.
inconvenient for me than to like have to go, first of all, going to a gym, like effort, but also then getting wet, taking off my clothes, like, well, yeah. But if you love it, like, yes.
I used to go swimming every morning before work. Before COVID, I would go to the gym or swimming, but sort of after COVID, I sort of did bits at home. But and it's funny enough that like I never had the inflammation in my legs back then. It's only sort of been the last year or so. But
okay. So look, two things. The first thing is when you need to reorder your next lot of oil, talk to me first, because I might try you on a higher strength oil. Okay.
I just did.
Oh,
I
did
just
you?
bought-
Is it open? Is it open?
No.
Don't open
No.
it. Don't open it. Don't open it. I'll arrange it for you in the morning.
Okay.
And then second, you can't do anything that aggravates that issue. Like there's not really any way around it. You've just got to figure out what you can do that doesn't hurt it.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like as soon as your body perceives that there's an injury and that you're aggravating the injury, it's like having a scab on your knee and then falling on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With what I'm doing health-wise, can it benefit if it's my nerves, or do I have to?
Yeah, it can, but it depends on what the issue is with your nerve. Like, for
Yeah.
example, it'll definitely lower the inflammation, but if something is structurally not right, then lowering the inflammation is the best it'll do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A higher strength oil, though, may take it to the point where it's actually working like a pain blocker. And so that it may be able to help you that way. I'm not saying it will, but it may be able to help you that way, in which case it just like that'll help your nervous system.
Yeah, I've noticed, like I tried to go down to 7 drops 3 times a day, but I had to go back up to 10.
Yeah, so as soon as you go down, yeah. So
yeah,
that's more,
get headachy and
okay.
yeah, my back and yeah. But
yeah. So that's more suggestive that it's something either structurally not right or something a bit more chronic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll sort that out for you in the morning. If I haven't messaged you in the morning, it's because I've forgotten, so I'm writing it down.
I've got clients and stuff tomorrow morning, so
Okay.
just even see how you go.
How about just message me when you're done with that client? The courier doesn't pick up the orders until 1, but let's say 12 to be safe. So as long as I get it sorted before 12.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
Marie, does the hemp actually take care of the pain for you?
Some of it, yes. A lot, like with my between my head, my neck and down, because it's sort of down my left side, which is quite it does absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, I'm amazed. Okay, cool. I'm glad it can't seem to get it to work for me that way, so I'm glad it works.
I'm also taking the maca as well.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Joy, your issues are so systemic that it's sort of like a band-aid with the oils is not enough. I think
Sorry, I didn't mean to be a put off on the product.
No, it's not that. It's not that. It's just really just helping you to just like give you some hope. Like you're in a cruddy situation at the moment, but you are moving in the right direction. You are, honestly. So just hang in there. And tomorrow morning is only, what time is it? Tomorrow morning's only like 12 hours away.
No, I didn't mean anything bad.
Joy, you got to stop apologizing to me, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say sorry for saying sorry.
Mm.
Okay. All right, guys. I'll catch you next week. Did you guys get my Voxer invite?
Yes. Yes.
Where?
I need to set it up.
No, where?
Do you have Voxer?
Ah, no, that's a good point.
Okay, that's okay. I'll send you. I'll message it to you now, and you can download it.
Sweet.
Okay, cool. All right, guys.
Awesome.
Have a good week.
Thank you.
No worries.
Bye. Thanks.
See you guys.